everyone, welcome back to the Token Minds training series. In this session, we are going to explore how institutions decide between scale and privacy when selecting blockchain infrastructure. Specifically, we'll compare zkSync and Midnight and explain why this decision is not about which technology is better, but which problem an organization is actually trying to solve. The goal is to understand how institutions apply a scale versus privacy decision framework when choosing blockchain infrastructure. It also shows how public, high volume transactions flows can be routed to zkSync, while sensitive and regulated workflows are better handled on privacy first platforms like Midnight. This framing is critical for avoiding failed pilots and misaligned architecture choices. zkSync is optimized for throughput, low fees, and public execution, making it suitable for high volume payments like DeFi and fintech use cases. Midnight, on the other hand, is not designed for maximum throughput or lowest cost. It is designed for privacy first execution, where transaction data remains confidential by default and compliance is enforced using zero knowledge rules. The key takeaway is that these platforms solve fundamentally different institutional constraints. So rather than focusing on features, they weigh criteria such as throughput, privacy level, auditability, compliance burden, total cost of ownership, and ecosystem maturity. So depending on whether an institution behaves more like a payments processor or a privacy-first asset manager, zkSync or Midnight will score higher across different dimensions. The takeaway is that platform selection is a weighted business decision, not just a technical decision. On zkSync, identity and compliance checks are handled off-chain, while on-chain transactions remain fully transparent. This works well when regulations require visibility. On Midnight, identity proofs are validated without exposing raw personal data, allowing compliance checks to occur without leaking sensitive information. This difference becomes critical for institutions operating under strict data protection and confidentiality rules. So, how scale into millions of transactions with zkSync? Execution is moved to a layer 2 environment where transactions are batched into zero knowledge proofs, dramatically increasing throughput while inheriting the Ethereum security. Account abstraction and paymasters reduce user friction and standardize fees, making high frequency enterprise flows practical. Execution happens at high speed on zkSync, while final settlement is periodically anchored to Ethereum, allowing organizations to scale to millions of transactions per month without congestion. And how Midnight reduces regulatory and data exposure risk? Applications are designed to separate public and private data from the start, keeping sensitive information private by default. Selective disclosure rules define what data can be shared and when allowing lawful access without full exposure. Zero knowledge proofs verify correctness without revealing raw data, enabling secure calibration and regulatory audits while shielding confidential business information. zkSync delivers high throughput, EVM compatible execution with transparent data, relying on off-chain compliance processes. Midnight enforces privacy and disclosure rules directly at the protocol level, integrating more deeply with identity, policy, and regulated data systems. Together, they represent two complementary execution models rather than competing ones. Midnight supports privacy-first applications such as Project Catalyst funding for confidential dApps and privacy-preserving decentralized exchanges. zkSync supports large-scale institutional activity, including the tokenization of a $1.7 billion private credit portfolio and the growth of regulated Layer 2 ecosystems like Union Chain. These examples show how scale and privacy are applied in practice, not just theory. Rather than using general purpose chains for everything, organizations are adopting specialized networks. zkSync is used for scale, performance, and public settlement, while privacy first chains like Midnight handle confidential execution and compliance workflows. This leads to hybrid architectures, where scale and privacy are intentionally separated, allowing enterprise blockchain deployments to move from pilots into sustained production. An incorrect blockchain choice often leads to rework, failed pilots, and regulatory delays. So token mines helps we align business objectives, compliance requirements, and technical constraints from the beginning. We assess use cases, transaction volumes, privacy needs, and regulatory obligations to determine whether zkSync, midnight, or hybrid architecture is the right fit, and then design low-risk pilots with a clear path to production. Thank you for watching. If you're ready to evaluate and deploy the right scale and privacy architecture using zkSync, midnight, or a hybrid model, reach out to us. We'd love to help you move from pilots to production with confidence.